Hello. Dan here. This is Vinyl Fury, back for another entry in what I've been calling my vinyl diary, where I'm just showing the records that I've listened to recently, whether they are new to me or from the collection that I haven't listened to in a while. And I don't know that I've ever done this early enough that I'm actually drinking coffee while I do it, but it sounded like a nice thing to do today, so cheers. So first off, we have the Blue Note Tone Poet edition of Blue Train from John Coltrane from 1958. As you can see, it's a glossy cover, and it's a thick Stoughton jacket, a very nice gatefold. Wonderful presentation, and this is the mono edition. There's also a stereo, which is a double LP with some extra tracks. I went for this one. And I wasn't sure I was going to do this. I had a pressing from Blue Note 75, and it was the European pressing. And that one was okay. I figured, all right, this is good enough. As many times as I'm going to listen to this, it's good enough. And then this had to come along years later, very recently. And I heard such great things about this and all the Tone Poet releases, really, that I've heard about. So it seemed like it might be worth it. But retail, this is like $38, $40. Somehow I found it on sale for under $30. And that seemed like I should do it. So I did. It sounds wonderful. As you can see from the sticker, cut from the original master tape by Kevin Gray and pressed at RTI. And all of those things are good, and it sounds great, and it will definitely replace that Blue Note 75 copy. And obviously a classic, wonderful album from the Coltrane discography. So this is another one that I didn't plan on buying, and then I found it in front of me. I went to the record store yesterday and almost got away without buying anything. And then for some reason, this came to mind, and I didn't expect it to be in the store, but I looked anyway, and it was there, and the price was just at the cusp of what I would consider paying for it, so I went ahead and did it. So this is a Super Heaven Jar, their first album, first released 10 years ago. This is the 10-year anniversary of it. They were called Daylight at the time, and for a few years before that, but had to change their name to Super Heaven. So this is a reissue of that, and it has 2 extra songs at the end, which is cool to hear some extra material that I hadn't heard before, but it's 2 extra songs on a single LP. So that's why I was hesitant to buy this version of it, because how could it sound as good? Certainly not better. And I was, quite happy with the original as it was. But I also kind of wanted to support the band. They kind of stopped being an active band after their second album. They haven't really been an active touring band since, I want to say, 2016, 17. They've still done some benefit shows and festivals now and again, but this seemed like an opportunity to show the band, people still really dig you and would love some more. And actually the first press of this reissue has already sold out, and they're doing a second pressing of it. There's an insert that folds out, lyrics inside. Inner sleeve, it's on a violet, purple-ish. And this is actually very, very close to the purple of the original pressing that I have. So not too much different there. This is just a shade, maybe 2 shades darker. So it didn't sound bad. I did have to give it some help with EQ and turn it up a little bit louder than I normally do. But when I did, it started to give me what I expected. And the extra songs are okay. Did I really need to have this? No. But again, it was there, and I wasn't buying anything else yet, so I don't really regret it. we'll see how long I have both of the copies. But great album. It's, if you don't know, I guess neo-grunge. They definitely have an inspired sound from the early to mid-90s. Heavy rock guitar, Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins. And they do it really well. And it has a modern twist on it, but it sounds very familiar. And I really enjoy it. It's very catchy. The riffs are great. It's good stuff. And it seems to me like the exposure is changing. Sorry about that. That is the thing with using the natural light. I can't turn the sun down. Moving on, this is a cool one. I mean, again, did not expect to own this on vinyl, but I played a few songs from this digitally recently and thought, oh, maybe, I don't know if this is as huge as I remember it. It seems a little more compressed, maybe a little more limited than I recall. And I'm curious, didn't I see that this actually did get a vinyl pressing at some point? So this is Fear Factory, ObsΩlete from 1998. Was not on vinyl until 2018 when Music on Vinyl did a pressing of it. And I do remember hearing of it back then and thought, well, I don't need to have that. There's no way I'll play it enough. I really doubt a heavy industrial metal sound like this is going to be better on vinyl, so I won't worry about it. But then after I listened recently, I looked it up, and people were saying it was actually quite good and surprisingly more dynamic and punchy. And so I found a copy that was less than $30 and late one evening decided to give it a go. Man, it showed up fast. I ordered this, see, today's Monday. I think I ordered it Tuesday evening. It shipped Wednesday, and it wasn't supposed to come until the next Wednesday, and it came Friday. So I was listening to it that night. And indeed, it did sound surprisingly and properly huge. It really had an impact. The drums, there's a lot of palm muting, and it was really moving air, which is great. And there's some sub bass on some of these songs, starting with track 1, and it's not missing, which is impressive. You know, Music on Vinyl always do fantastic pressings, and so whoever cut this did a good job. I think, and there's never any initials in the dead wax. I'm sure they just have in-house people that do this, but well done. Only complaint I had is that the song Descent is on the end of side 1, and towards the end it definitely starts to break up a bit, and that's one of my favorite songs. I think it's one of the most accessible songs they have. Very catchy, really awesome hook, and it suffers a bit from being at the end of the side, but that's the way the track listing goes. What are you going to do? But this was fun to listen to. I remember really enjoying this way back when it came out. A departure from the new metal of like Kuhn and Limp Bizkit that I was listening to at the time. And just kind of it was still very heavy, but in a different realm that I enjoyed. Burton C. Bell, I think, has a really unique voice, especially for metal. And Dino on guitar is just, that right hand is special. So still one of their best albums in my opinion. Definitely don't need any others on this format, but I'm glad I went for that. One from ECM that I picked up sometime this year, Steve Kuhn, Nonfiction. It's from 1978. I enjoy the cover of this with that forced perspective with the comb through the field. That's cool. So you got Steve Kuhn, who is on a few albums that I picked up recently. He plays piano. Steve Slagle on saxophones and flute. Harvey Swartz on bass. Bob Moses on drums. And all of these guys are impressive. This is a more energetic, more traditional jazz kind of record than I am used to on ECM, but it's fantastic. It's very engaging and interesting. This was a great listen. And it being ECM, most of these records are going to be in still fantastic condition whenever you find them. And yeah, this was like near mint. It sounded fantastic. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about it, except I found it pretty damn phenomenal. And Steve Kuhn has a lot of records out there, so I wouldn't mind picking up some more. This is one I pulled out of the collection. Hadn't spun it in a long time. Johnny Mathis, Johnny's Mood. It's one of, I think, 2 Johnny Mathis records that I still have from my early days of combing through discount sections. I believe this was 50 cents, and I've had it for a long time. But I remember hearing it for the first time and thinking, well, that's a lot better than I expected, which is why I still have it. And when I was younger, Johnny Mathis was lumped into the crooners, the kind of kitschy stuff of the 60s. And I think that's, it's for a reason. But a lot of these records, especially from like the late 50s, early 60s, pretty great. And Johnny Mathis, his voice stands out to me among that pack. The vibrato that he has throughout this record is kind of stunning at times, really. Really gifted voice. Great arrangements. It was great to listen to this again. I pulled it out and cleaned it first. So this is from 1960. It's a black 6i Columbia label. And it cleaned up pretty nicely. For 50 cents. Great deal. I don't know if you can even find records like this for 50 cents anymore, let alone $1 or $2 in this condition. Also from the collection, Spinoza, from David Spinoza. It's his first solo album. As far as I know, really the only one he has. I saw a listing for one that came out in like 83, only in Japan. I don't know about that one. But David has been a session guitarist for years and years on all kinds of stuff. Albums from individual Beatles, Billy Joel. He has a huge list of credits, and he got his own record here on A&M. This is a promo copy, hype sticker there. And I'm sure I found this in the 50 cent bin as well. And I've listened to it a couple times over the years. And still, it's like not a very challenging listen, but enjoyable. Pop rock, a little bit of jazz maybe. Tons of great players. And a couple of them have a little bit of vocal. I had forgotten about that. And then track 1 came on and there was some background vocals. And Luther Vandross is listed as one of those singers, which was interesting. Steve Jordan is on drums. I know him from playing drums for John Mayer. It's the late 70s, so it's very well recorded and produced. Pretty unoffensive, but pretty damn good. Obviously a fantastic musician. He's been used quite a bit for a long time. And lastly, I was recently at Goodwill. Usually don't find anything there anymore, but I came across a lot of classical records that seem to be in really good condition, including this one, which was actually still sealed. Didn't know anything about it, but I figured I would take a chance on a few of those. I think I got 5 or 6 of them. And today, I don't think I had much classical aside from a couple of box sets from like Time Life, Beethoven, Bach, and those are nice. But the individual classical records that I've had, I don't think I ended up keeping. So I figured I'd take a shot on some more. Obviously, I can't speak a whole lot to what this is. I believe it's French. Poulenc, Concerto for Piano and Orchestra, 1950. Paris Conservatory Orchestra, conducted by George Preter. And I think this came out in the late 60s. This is a stereo copy. So yeah, I'm not very well versed in the history of classical, the nomenclature, the descriptive terms. I would say it was kind of middle of the road as far as tempo and grandeur. It sounded quite nice, and just to throw on a classical album, pretty good. I'm curious if anyone watching knows more about this, or maybe even this label and series. So yeah, I find myself wishing I could say more about that, but it's one of several classical records that I just picked up, and I'll be listening to some more. So that is it for today. Pretty eclectic mix. And once I spin a few more, I will come back and talk to you about them. So till then, thanks for watching, take care, and enjoy your music.